All right, welcome everyone. Right now we're taking a couple of your questions. I know that a lot of people had some things to say about the pipes that they were concerned about as this Arctic blast heads our way. I'm Sharice Gibson, joined by reporter Sam Winstrom right now, and we're streaming live on our Facebook page. And Sam, I think that you already have some questions here. We're also going to be joined by a plumber professional master at this, Danny, who you can see right there in the split screen. Danny, you joined us last night, this morning. People had so many questions. Sam is gathering them together for us. But first, can you give us just a general overview as to what we should be doing right now?
Well, I mean, basically, like we've been talking about over the last several days is, you got to make sure that your pipes are insulated. You got to make sure you assess your own home for what is needed to make sure your home doesn't freeze. And, be prepared to trickle some water and see what we get through with this.
All right, thank you, Danny. And the first question we got in here, and it's something that we heard a lot this morning as well after you joined us on the morning show, is does it make a difference whether you're running the hot or the cold tap when it comes to running your faucets?
And this is I've read a couple of comments about that, and basically what people don't understand is that if you can't touch every point of your home with running water, you're not going to be able to sit there. You can't run every faucet. If you run every faucet, this entire city, then that's when the water pressure is going to severely drop. So basically, you only run one fixture, hot side, that is going to be able to give you at least some hot and cold circulation.
Well, you talked about running that hot side and running that water. We've been saying that there is a problem or a possibility of the water pressure kind of dropping, So what's the difficulties that can come to that water pressure dropping? Of course, we know that there can be a boil water advisory, but that's a dangerous situation, right?
And you just kind of, like we had talked about before, it's just one of these things where you have to look at, do you run a little bit of water now and have to deal with a lot of blown out pipes later? And that's really what we try to say is that, we've seen the freezes before. We've seen when the pipes have burst and when we come up to a home and it's just wide open. And when you have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of homes that have bursted pipes because they didn't run their water, then, it's which one is the lesser of two evils?
Right. All right. Do you have any questions, Sam?
Yeah, another question we're getting a lot is not for the people staying in town, for the people that are leaving town. You're heading out of town for Christmas today or tomorrow, but things are going to be freezing cold. Do you leave your faucet running the whole time, or should you shut off the water to your house and try to drain the system before you go?
Well, it's really difficult, and that's going to have to be up to the homeowner. Leaving a faucet running when you're not home, hopefully your drain's not stopped up. And you have to look at a couple of different variables in that way. I don't recommend a homeowner doing it themselves. I recommend them calling a plumbing company and have a plumbing company come out, because you have to find, if you have a electric water heater, gas water heater, or a tankless or whatever water heater you have, that has to be shut down. If you drain your water down, a tankless, not so much, but a tank can basically siphon out of the system if you drain the lines down, and if it's not turned off, it can cause serious damage.
Well, you have a lot of people with raised houses, especially in Orleans Parish, and they were talking about the pipes that are underneath the house. Some people didn't want to go through the problems or the trouble of actually crawling underneath their homes just to cover up those pipes. So what do you suggest for them, not only for this situation, but for future situations?
Well, what we had talked about the other night is, and I'm reiterating that, I explained this in 2018 when we did interviews, that after this is over with, and if whatever you get through and whatever damage that you have to deal with, let's get it fixed, but let's also get our pipes insulated while it's not an emergency situation. And that's really the best thing I tell everybody. You can run your faucet, the furthest water fixture in the back of the house away from the front, you can run that, and that should help you as much as you can. But again, I go back to the fact is that you're not going to be able to sit there and protect everything if your pipes aren't insulated. Because if again, we cannot run everything in the entire house. Running one fixture is enough. And if you run too many fixtures, that's when you're really going to start having problems within the city.
And when you say running one fixture is enough, one of the common questions we get is which one, if you're running one? Is it the one farthest away from your water heater? Is it the one farthest away from your water meter? Which one should people be looking for?
We tell everybody it's basically the furthest fixture away from the front of your house. Wherever your water service comes in, you want to go the longest distance you possibly can to run that faucet.
All right, again, text us those questions. If you have any questions for Danny, 504-529-4444. And of course, you can send your questions to Sam Winstrom. He's on our Facebook page right now. And if you have anything specific to your home, because Danny, you say that this is all very specific to whatever home that you live in. You can't just give kind of a answer that addresses every single home.
No, you can't. And, we tell everybody this, that we can give you a general statement, but again, your particular home is going to have to be up to you to be able to determine what is the best way for you to go through the freeze. We can't tell everyone to do one thing because one size doesn't fit all.
Mm-hmm. And one of the questions we're seeing that just came in right now is, what about protecting the pipes of a camper or a trailer, especially after Hurricane Ida and with the recent tornadoes that we've had this year and last year. There are a lot of people living outside their homes in campers or trailers. How should they prepare their plumbing for this, freezing winter event coming up?
It's going to be the same thing. It's just generally it's water lines. You got to protect the water lines. That's for, it doesn't matter if it's a mobile home, manufactured home. It doesn't matter if it's a slab home. It doesn't matter if it's a raised home. You have to protect your pipes. The best way to do it again is to have a pencil stream furthest away from the front. That's the only way you're really going to be able to do it as of right now.
Another thing that's come up, and it's caused a little confusion that we've seen, kind of conflicting information from some officials, is when we're just talking about raised homes, but what about slab homes as well? We've heard some people say you don't have to worry about it if you're in a slab home, your pipes are insulated. What do you say when it comes to running your water if you have a slab foundation on your house?
Well, for number one, I really, don't want to get into official or non-official. That's their job, and my job is to give you the best advice that I can. And I tell everybody, we go back to this over and over again, is that you have to assess, do you have a tankless water heater on the outside of your home? Just because you have a slab, do you have a reroute through your attic? These are things that people need to look at to be able to tell if they're going to be able to get through this or not. If you can't say don't run your water if you have a slab home. Because again, I have a slab home, I have a tankless water heater on the outside of my house. Well, I need to make sure I run through that tankless water heater some water, because if not, all of the tubes inside of it are going to burst.
Well, talk about the worst case possibility here. What happens in that process? And you had to deal with this in 2018 when we had another freeze. What happens when all of those pipes burst, or pipes do burst? How do you move forward?
Well, let's go back to the 90s when that was one of the worst freezes that I've ever seen in this business. And, it's costly, it's damaging. And unfortunately, it could take up to a month or so to be able to get your water back on, because, there's a lot of plumbers in the city, but there's a lot of homes in the city. So, we can only do so much, and we sometimes can't get to it quick enough.
Another question we've gotten from a couple of people here is about running the water outside the home, your hose faucet, things like that. Should people leave those dripping at all?
No, not at all. Because the thing is, when you run it on outside the house, it's just going to freeze. Because it's the same thing that if you have open water, it'll also freeze. So you need to run on the inside of your home. Don't run on the outside. Again, remember, run it from all the way back from the front of the house, the furthest fixture you can, and then run it there. Do not run on the outside of your house, because it will freeze just like everything else and probably burst your hose bib.
Another one we're getting, especially when it comes to distance of the faucet, for people that live in multi-story homes, two-story homes, should that faucet furthest away from the street, would that include going upstairs as well?
I mean, you can do upstairs, you can do downstairs. Again, like what we were talking about earlier, is that, you can't protect everything. It's just not feasible, because once you start running water all through the house, you're going to start dropping water pressure everywhere. So basically, you're going to have dead end lines. You're going to have stuff as far as, like, if I say in a home, there's a kitchen on one side of the house, there's a bathroom on the other side of the house, you're going to have to pick one of them. And then you have to make a decision which one's the furthest way to have the best rate of non-freezing.
All right, right now we're taking your questions, 504-529-4444. Text those questions into us. Sam is taking your questions right now on our Facebook page, our social media pages, and he'll be able to share that with you, and you can get advice from an expert, really.
Another one that we've seen a couple times is when it comes, there's still some daylight right now.
Right.
So people who might be getting some last minute preparations and maybe wrapping their pipes right now, what is the best material they can use for that? And we've also heard about some shortages of different pipe wrappings at different hardware stores.
Yeah.
Is there a backup material like newspaper or bubble wrap that people can turn to in that case?
Towels.
Towels?
I mean, that's the best I could tell you is towels. And look, here's another thing. I had seen earlier on some comments that I really would like to clarify. Someone had put out on social media to put antifreeze in your P-traps.
What?
Okay, for number one, if you have heaters on in your home, you don't need to put antifreeze in anything. Please don't do that unless it's a vacant home or you're not going to be home or you don't have a source of heat. If you have a source of heat and you keep it on 70, 68, whatever you want to do, it will not freeze. So please don't put radiator fluid in a trap or a toilet. It could be dangerous. It's not a necessity. And also, again, if you have your heater on, it will protect your inside fixtures.
Another question we just got in right now is about people with fountains. Leave those running or shut them off and try to drain them?
You can try to drain them, shut them off, and see if you can pump them out. That's something that probably will freeze. I'm not too familiar with fountains itself. It's just a water line going to it. But if they're self-contained, shut them off and then drain them.
I think we got a couple of more questions that are coming in, Sam.
Yes. Let me see here as we catch up with everybody.
Some people are asking about the hot water heater being in the attic. If it's in the attic, can we leave the drop off?
I'm sorry, if it's in the
They're
attic, you leave
asking
what?
if it's in the attic, I'm assuming that they feel like they don't really have to turn it off. I'm assuming that's what this person is asking. If you turn the water off, you want to turn your hot water heater off, but what if it's in the attic?
You still want to turn it off. You don't
Okay.
want it burning. You don't want the electricity onto it. You don't want the gas onto it. You don't want flames onto it. Because again, if it siphons out when you turn on a faucet, then you're going to have no water in there. Elements are going to burn up. The heater, the gas water heater is going to become a problem where it's burning in just hot air.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what you want to do is to make sure that if you do turn your water off and you're leaving, please shut your water heater off.
Another one I've seen come up a couple times now is, should they continue to let their water run during the daytime? The sun comes out, things warm up a little bit. Is it time to give the system a break, or should they just keep it running the whole time this freeze is happening?
It's really on the temperature. If it's freezing, you still need to keep it running. If it's not, you don't gauge daytime or nighttime, you gauge the temperature. The temperature is what's going to dictate if you have your water running or not.
All right, I know that we talked about this last night, Danny, but can you just go back to, this is the first time that I heard anyone mention anything about the swimming pools and the dangers that can happen there and how you need to keep those running.
Okay, well, then I'd like to address another comment about that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I saw somebody put on social media again today, and they said that the reason why you want to run a pool is because the fan generates heat. That is false. Okay, because you're running water in your home and you don't have fans inside of your water lines. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you have moving water, it will not freeze. So the misconception of you run it because it's going to heat up is not what you're looking for. You're running it because what you want to do is you want the water flowing.
Okay, and is there any special steps people can take right now to get their swimming pools ready for the freeze today?
Leave it running. Basically like I did mine. I basically took the timers out of it to where it shuts on and shuts off, and I'm just letting it run 24/7 until the stop of the freeze.
All right, if you have any questions, 504-529-4444. Text us any questions that you may have. As you just heard Danny mention, this is all very specific to your home. So if there are any questions that's very specific to the type of home you have, if you're in Orleans Parish, if you're in Jefferson Parish, St. Bernard Parish, you can always reach out to us. Or of course, you can send us a message. We have our Facebook Live. We're streaming on social media. Thank you so much to all the people that are joining us right now. Send us any questions, and Sam has been checking that for us. And Sam, I don't know if we have anything else that came through.
One that I've seen a couple times now are people asking about washing machine lines. Is there anything they should worry about when it comes to their washing machines and washing machine lines inside their homes?
No. Again, as long as your heater's on in your home, it should be just fine.
You know, it's really interesting. I know that this always catches us by surprise here, and we talked a little bit about this before, but the fact that this is probably something that homeowners should probably take care of before the possibility of a major freeze. Maybe it's kind of out of sight, out of mind because we're in New Orleans and temperatures are usually unseasonably hot, and now, you know, for a few days we get to experience what the rest of the world is experiencing.
Well, you know, like we talked about the other night, is that, you know, just because this freeze ends, and we went over this in 2018 and a couple other times, we tell everybody, just because it goes away doesn't mean it can't come back. Now, I understand we live in the South, but obviously we've been hit, you know, 2018, we had a little bit in 2000, I think it was 2021, and then now we're here again. Right. So basically, when it's over with, you know, instead of having a rush, let's get all these pipes insulated so nobody's pipes freeze, and do it before it is an emergency.
I know that you probably are really busy. How many calls have you gotten so far for people to try to do this last minute?
We're getting a lot, and we just can't get to them. And right. It's just, you know, we only have so much manpower, and I'm sure there's other plumbers out there that tell you the same thing. You know, people are calling wanting their pipes insulated right now, and you only have so many crews that can go out and do them. So basically, again, don't wait till the last minute. You know, we're going to go through this freeze, and, you know, we pray that there's not much damage. But once we get through this, and we tell our customers, please call us to get onto a list to have your home insulated. That way we can slowly do it through the warmer months. And then when it gets cold and a freeze does pop up on us again, you don't have to worry about it.
And Danny, I think we're going to wrap up here soon, but I'm getting some of the questions we saw earlier in the show. So I was hoping you can give us kind of an overview, specifically when it comes to running your faucets, as far as, you know, how much water they should run, which faucet they should run, and should it be the hot or cold water in this instance?
Okay, so again, let's just go ahead and say this. What you want to do is you want to run your faucet that is furthest from the front of your house. You want to run hot, okay? Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get hot and cold to run. And what I tried to explain to someone else the other day is that when you run your hot, you're bringing the cold water through to your water heater, then it's coming out of your water heater and then going through the hot. So you're trying to cover as much bases as you can without turning your entire house on. So if you're going to run one fixture, which you should only do, is that you want to get both hot and cold going. And we're going to have dead ends, that we call them, that you're not going to be able to cover everything when you run the water. Mm-hmm. So that's the best thing that I tell everyone to do. If your pipes are insulated, you have a slab home, you don't have a water heater in your attic, you don't have a tankless on the outside of your house, you know, you're going to be fine for the most part. It's really people with the raised houses that are uninsulated that's going to get the brunt of this. But again, you have to assess your own home to what you have to do to make sure your home is protected.
Yeah, I'm in a raised house myself, and that's something that I was concerned about, really just kind of keeping it insulated inside and outside for the pipes, really. You said something yesterday that really stuck out to me. We have a lot of elderly neighbors, a lot of people who need help, they need assistance. You know, what should you do? These are the times where you should check on your neighbor. Can they call you all, or is it too late, or what should you do to help your neighbor out?
I'm going to be honest with you. It's getting close to too late right now. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we try to help our customers out as best as we possibly can. And the thing is that when you have elderly, or you have someone that can't afford things, you have to be able to help them out. Sit there, a 75-year-old lady, you know, might not know how to turn her water heater to vacation or where her breaker is, and it would be good for somebody to go over there to do that for them. So when they are running their water heater's not running the whole time. You know, there's simple processes that they can do, but again, you know, we recommend calling a professional to do it because it can be a dangerous situation if you don't do it properly.
Well, Danny, I think that's all we've got for you today. I appreciate you joining us again and making time for us. I'm sure you're very busy today and have been very busy all week.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and I do appreciate it, guys, and y'all have a Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas to you, Danny. Thank you so much. Again, we'll have all of this information on our website, wwltv.com. We know that we have a lot of questions for you all. We can replay this. Can we have on Facebook, probably rewatch it if they want to go back and look at some of the questions we answered?
Indeed, it'll be on Facebook, it'll be on our website and app, as well as WWL-TV Plus, our OTT platform, streaming platform on any of your smart TV or smart devices. That'll be in regular rotation.
All right, thanks so much for joining us.